Welcome everyone to the inaugural episode of Tied In. This is our series on all things e-commerce, and I'm excited to open up with a packed group here to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, which is women in e-commerce. I've had a wonderful career in commerce that's been influenced by countless number of women, and something occurred to me early on was that the women drive the majority of e-commerce purchasing decisions, and they're also at the hands and keyboards of the majority of brands from a retention perspective. And one of the things I've noticed is while we've seen out in the space today in terms of events, there are more women-owned events and women events for women in the space. What I had noticed is there's not that many people who are running podcasts that include voices, women voices more predominantly. So I'm out here to fix that. And I'm brought in again a stacked panel here to talk about issues in e-commerce. But before I get into that, I want to do quick introductions. I'm really pleased to be joined by Nikki Tooman, who's the co-founder of Sticky Digital. If you don't know what Sticky Digital is, it's a multi-million-dollar female-founded retention and marketing agency. It's focused on turning one-time purchasers into brand loyalists. And I would be remiss if I didn't call out the fact that she's a 2024 Amazing Women in E-commerce honoree and recognized voice on retention and growth strategy. I'm also joined by Casey Coughlin, Director of Agency Partners at Tie. Casey and I have had the benefit of knowing each other for years. She spent 4 years as senior partner manager at Recharge, and nearly 6 years in business development and partnerships at Blue Switch, which is where we originally met. Also joined by Leah Algazy. She is a seasoned partnership leader, deep roots in e-commerce, worked at Shopify, worked at Rep AI, worked at Postscript, has been a senior manager for nearly for 3 years, and now she's running technology partnerships at Tie. So just as a quick starter, by the way, say hello everybody. You want to wave? And I think
Hi.
Casey, I think Casey might also be joined by Gary, her dog.
Right,
Yes.
boy.
The official or a non-official mascot of Tie. So, but I want to start with you, Leah. So, like, you've been in some of the most like important roles at like platforms. You were at e-commerce, Postscript, Rep AI. What made you want to be part of this conversation about women in e-commerce?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for the introduction. But yeah, I think I had an honor to work with so many like female founded, whether it was like SaaS companies or agencies or brands. And I just feel like our voice is not just like being out there enough as like other like male founded companies. I don't know if it's because we choose like to just like work and not talk about it a lot, or we're just not being represented enough. But yeah, I'm very excited to take. I think it's a very important conversation to have, and everyone should like think of where their company is at regarding like more diversity on that end. So yeah, happy to be here.
No, I'm glad to have you here. And it's been a pleasure to work with you so far. Casey, I mean, you're talking with agencies, you're talking with operators. I guess what are you seeing from that seat? That's like the most common in e-commerce. Like, what are people not talking about, and what are you seeing from that female perspective when it comes to like dealing with agencies?
Yeah, I mean, not even specific to women, but I think women do a really good job of this, and I know Nikki's team does, is being more of like an extension of those brands. So how do you come in and, offer a lot of value up front, which I know Nikki, I'm using you guys as an example, like a free audit or something to kind of, but not just a free audit where it's like a couple things, like really going deep and helping brands understand where you can step in. I know Nikki's team does an amazing job of that. But yeah, I mean, I think the people who are doing really well are building are almost like an extension of the brand. And how can you be that voice that they need in a space where everyone's telling them something to do? I think that Sticky does a great job of that. So, and not trying to
Well,
just plug Sticky.
yeah, well, we can
Paid.
plug
This
Sticky.
is
We can
this
plug
is not a
Sticky
paid
Digital.
promotion, but I do think the team does a really great job.
Well, Nikki, give us the lowdown. You built Sticky Digital from the ground up. I mean, it's a female founded retention first agency. I mean, can you give us the high level on like how that happened and why that approach from the drop?
Yeah. So my co-founder, Mariel, and I, God, 12 years ago. I mean, Kevin, it's where we met as well, like a long time ago. Uh, Met 12 years ago at an actual e-com agency where it was the largest in North America at the time. And we were employee 8 and 9 there, and we're there through multiple acquisitions. And we were doing obviously the design and dev side of things. I was on the technology partnership side. So every single technology question or referral question that came in from a merchant was funneled through me. And we had a whole, not a whole bunch, but I would say like a handful of merchants that would ask us to design emails for them based off of landing pages that they were running that we had built for them. And it was not a capability that our agency had. It's not something that we did. And we had one partner at the time that did it. And it was like literally the only partner in the space. And they would just take these landing pages and recreate them into emails. Fast forward a couple of years, and we were brand side. Mariel and I were brand side working for a brand incubator. And while we were there, we were basically like, hey, we're spending a ton of money on Meta. And we're not really retaining any of these customers. Like, we're just pumping money in hopes that they're coming back. And like, this is what we need to do. And so Mariel and I kind of like had this conversation of like, there's nobody servicing this. It was the hardest position for us to hire for because nobody actually like knew how to do it. So like hiring at a brand level was also very difficult. And so we decided to start Sticky 6 years ago. And I will tell you that everybody told us that we were stupid to just focus on retention. Like everybody's like, yeah, okay, no, like you should do acquisition, you should do design and development. And we were like, no, like we're just going to be good at this one thing, which was retention. And when I tell you that it took a couple of years because people weren't wrong, like people weren't really investing in retention up front. But it's paid off because like those first couple of years, we had a couple of really large clients and we just dug in and really learned the backbones of retention. And here we are 32 women later, Sticky Digital 6 years. So it's been a great run so far.
Nikki, I had a mentor tell me one time that like it's only crazy until it isn't, in terms of like starting things. And I mean, I do see that shift going towards retention. I mean, it feels like the days of like mass migration to Shopify or SaaS
Right.
are sort of like over, and
Over.
now it's about like optimizing what you already have, right, and saving what you have. That and like who could predict that iOS 14 would like up in the entire space and suddenly like cost of acquisition goes through. So it sounds like it was a smart bet. Well, I'm curious for all of you. I also understand the irony that I'm the only male on this phone call, on this podcast, and but I think it's important that like we as men have agency, and we obviously look and have observations about what's going on in the space. So I've been nothing but an advocate for women in my entire career, and I've noticed, at least somewhat, and going to like shop talk and shows, that it feels like there are more spaces for women that are out there now. Like I'm seeing more things. There's, like maybe for example, I know you guys did a really fun Nikki at Shop Talk. Is that just like window dressing? I mean, I guess from this group's perspective, is it actually getting better for women in our industry, and or is that just like my own observation because I'm out there seeing some things that in these spaces that um that obviously I'm not a part of, but I'm glad to see them.
Yeah.
I probably think it depends on who you ask. I mean, like, I'm a naysayer by nature. So I probably think that it actually is a lot of just like smoke and mirrors, to be honest with you. I think there is more than probably what there was 5 years ago. Is there still a lot of space for us? No. Are there still a lot of non-allies out there, and people that like try to minimize what we are doing as women in the space and trying to like create space for us? I will say that it's shifted to that. So like I personally have had multiple conversations with people where they're basically like, "Oh, you're an all women's agency. Aren't you afraid you're going to get sued?" And I'm like, "What kind of like support?" You know what I mean? Like it's just like dumb comments like that are coming from men mostly, or like little stabs like that. And I don't know, like I chalk it up to jealousy, to be honest with you. Like, yeah, I hang out
Yeah.
with 32 women all day. I'm like, I love it. But like just trying to make comments, I think, to minimize the work that we're doing and trying to like give the space for it. I think it used to really bother me, and now it actually like makes me laugh that it is bothering people so much that women are trying to like have their own footing and voice in the ecosystem. Like I find it laughable at this point.
What do you think, Leah and Casey? Like, yeah,
Yeah,
what's your perspective?
I can chime in. Also respect, Nikki, all of your saying and doubling down on that as well. But I'm coming from, well, before I started like the ecosystem of like Shopify and like working here for like 10 years, I worked for 10 years in a more like traditional space, more corporate environment. And while that's not okay, but like it's like the ecosystem of Shopify is much better. I was in room where I was like always like the only woman and like wasn't really counted for it. So it's much better with the Shopify ecosystem. It's getting better. It's not perfect. There's still like rooms, especially like on the partnership, on the technical partnerships. Like I work cross-functional. So I sit with like engineers, product managers and everything. There's a lot of cases that I'm still like the only woman in the room in those like Zoom meetings. But I am feeling like it's getting better. I don't know if we're getting more allies, but it's getting better, like it's like in my perspective. But there's always room for improvements. Obviously, we're not there yet.
Yeah, I mean, I think kind of echoing everything you guys have said, but also like being in this space and seeing the improvements, like some of the smartest solutions engineers I've worked with are women. Like, and I think it's so badass and awesome to have them, and they bring a different um kind of vibe to how they present and sell. And I think that they commandeer a lot of respect. And so I have noticed that throughout the years. Also like Nicole Harvey, she has her space, empower her. I think she's doing a rebrand. But though every time I go to one of those events, I'm supercharged with all of the information and how supportive everyone is. So I think it's almost like in feeling that we've been kind of cast aside, we all come together even stronger and kind of to spite everyone almost that how successful like the women are. And like you said, Kevin, so many of these brands, the operators are women, and they're the ones who are going to be signing off on the tech that most of us are selling. So
I kid you not, and I would listen to like anyone who's listening to this who's like in partnerships. I would also add that like the most talented partner managers that I've ever worked with have all been women. And when I get on lunch and learns or I get on calls with retention agencies and I get to meet these broader teams, it's overwhelmingly women who are like reshaping the retention strategies for some of the best brands in e-commerce. So I'm not surprised to hear all of you say that. So, Nikki, I want to go back to you for a second. I sort of didn't mean to run over it in the intro, but you have been like recognized as an amazing woman in e-commerce, and for obvious reasons. There was a moment I was watching an interview with you where you talked about anyone sort of being able to do whatever they want with the right tools. Like you said this publicly. I think I've heard you like repeat this a few times. I guess my question is like, what are the right tools like actually mean in this industry? Like, are you finding that there are certain tools that are better than others from just a technology perspective, or is it all relationships? Like, what do you really look for when you're looking for tech or evaluating tech?
Yeah, I think a little bit of both. Like, obviously, the functionality is like a piece of it, right? So, like, you can literally do anything with like the tools that you're given. But I think it's also foundationally a lot of like the relationship and the partnership as well. Like, we have a phenomenal partnership with Thai. We have a phenomenal partnership with Klaviyo, you know what I mean? And a phenomenal partnership with Attentive. And I think like when you have really good relationships with people, it doesn't matter at the surface level what the technology can do, that relationship's actually going to help you get it to where you need it to be. So it's like whether the platform's able to actually do X, like we're going to figure out how to get it there by this relationship that you have and the people that they're bringing in to like make it work. And so I think like that's one of the things that very much I think set us apart in the retention space was it was like, it doesn't matter if 6 years ago, Klaviyo was able to do this one thing. Like we figured out before Klaviyo was actually able to connect with partners that were able to do sampling, we were actually able to figure out how to get Klaviyo to run sampling through flows based on like Shopify tags and Shopify flow and like all of these different things. But it took a lot from every person that was involved to sort of figure out how to get it there. So that's what I mean is like the relationships mean the most. And really, any technology that you're using, like for the most part, if you have a relationship, you'll be able to get it to where you need it to be.
Leah, come from the technology perspective. What do you think? Is it similar? Like, by the way, thank you, Nikki. That makes a lot of sense to me. It's kind of actually how I think about it as well. Like, you can't really get a lot done without collaboration, and you got to have somebody on the other side to be able to do it. Uh, but I feel like sometimes in tech, Leah, like, is that the same perspective you take when you were like working at Shopify and PostScript from like a technical perspective?
Yeah, so I was like the way that I see partnerships, I always try to figure out like what's missing on our brand's end, like what do our customers needs, where their pain points are, like always getting like feedback from customer success managers, from like salespeople. And when I see it like partnerships, yeah, there's like a lot of co-marketing and stuff, but I'm trying to like solve story or like I'm trying to solve like issues with like a mutual story in between a few platforms. So I'm always like very into like getting deep into like what's the use case here, what's the story, what we're solving together versus just like there's like I feel like there's a lot of like fluff there and there's a lot of like partnerships that are just like there to be out there and like just to put the names without really like solving anything, without people like really using it. So I guess like that's kind of like how I see tech partnerships in general, like what we're like technically here to solve our mutual merchants issues, and make sure that the way that they see their tech stack is like they're thinking holistic about it. We need to do the same, if that makes sense.
It's almost like the age old, like listening to your customer. It kind of falls in that range. It's like, what are the actual problems that they're experiencing? I'm curious, Casey, like, does that resonate on the agency side? And like, what do you see when you look across the agency partners you work with, and how you approach those and solve those problems?
Yeah, I mean, I think my approach is a little different. I definitely want to be more of like a sounding board, a friend. I want to come in because I think we all take this job very seriously, obviously, but you need some light moments. Like you need someone who you can get on the call with and be like, "Ah," like I can relax my shoulders because I've been talking to brands all day and having customers beat me up over things. And I want like my touch bases to be that lighter moment where we're able to connect as like real people and we're able to both support each other. I think the biggest key for me in partnerships is being there on the other side of the Slack or email. Because when you need help and you reach out to a partner, a tech partner that you've been supporting and sending brands to and they don't answer you, hard stop. Hard stop. So how can I be obviously super responsive but give them that, moment of fun and let's do our jobs and let's get this work done, but let's also remember that like we're normal people and what are our goals that each of us have. So that's kind of how I approach it.
I 100% agree. I always say like levity is an underrated characteristic in leaders. We are sort of like this, we've seen it before where we're in a very serious industry. There's serious problems that are happening, but having a lighthearted moment is somewhat refreshing because it can be pretty intense. Sometimes I want to bring it back to women for a second because I think women do this really well. Actually, is sort of like be the calming effect in the room and the levity in the room, but like from all your perspective, what's the most underrated contribution that you think women are making in e-commerce right now, aside from the ones we just discussed? Nikki, what do you think?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
Um, I would really say the fact that like most of the time I think women have the ability to do really well a lot of things at the same time. Like very much like and just if you think about it from like a motherhood standpoint or like a partner standpoint, right? Like running 2 or 3 steps ahead, and like you're constantly thinking like what's for dinner, what's for this, what's for that, while you're also doing this other thing. So I think like women have this like really amazing ability to sort of like run parallel, and not necessarily like get stuck on this one thing. And I think that one thing that worked really well at Sticky is our team doesn't just get stuck on this one thing. They do a really great job of being able to like run parallel, and like when I get stuck here, I'm just going to move on to this thing and like keep operating. So I would say that I think like just being able to run and focus on multiple things and do everything, as people like to tell women that they do all the time. But I think that that's a really great benefit, and you're able to just sort of do it all.
Have to ask, because you brought up motherhood, and Mother's Day is right around the corner. How are you balancing it all as a mom? And I know Leah is also a mom, and Casey, you're a dog mom. So I'm curious about like that, because I think that is something that people don't bring up, right? Like that there is like a balance there in the background that that I know that like I certainly like my wife experiences, and I know a lot of women, but it doesn't get talked about enough. Like, how does that affect your sort of output, or the way that you approach work in general?
Honestly, I'm very grateful. I have a wonderful husband, which kudos to him because I usually like he's the butt of all of my jokes usually. But I have a really wonderful husband who's like really
Whoops.
supportive and like I know, clip this and send it to him, Kevin.
Yeah, yes, we will. We'll make sure this clip goes on. Like, we'll tag Jacob for sure.
Shout out to Jake. Who really just like knows what my end goal is and like knows that like Sticky is my ultimate and like knows that like this is the thing that I'm so passionate about. And so every time I like go on a work trip, like he is like, yep, no problem, like scoops up the kids, does the baseball coaching, like does all of these different things and like really doesn't miss a beat. And I will also say, shout out to Yaya and Papu, my parents. Like we moved where we moved because but my parents are retired. Husband travels for work as well. And so literally today I'm in LA. He's in Chicago. The kids are with my parents, and my parents did like the shuffle with them to school this morning. And so I think like it really does take a village. And as a mom, like every time I go to leave, like my kids are sobbing, like, oh, don't leave. And I'm like, hey, it's only one sleep. It's fine. And it's just something that you really have to get used to. And I say to people all the time, I hope I'm not ruining them. Like, I hope I'm not giving them their issues. But then I also remember, like, my dad traveled all the time for work. And I jokingly go, like, look, and I'm fine. Like, I'm totally fine. So, like, I know that it's okay. But I think, like, that's really, I think for any parent, when you leave, you have this, like, parent guilt. And I think that doesn't get any easier regardless, like male or female. I think you do just have this guilt that you're going to like miss something, but it's for good reason. And, you know, when I'm gone, my kids are eating donuts with their grandparents at 2 p.m. So do they really miss me? I don't think so.
They're getting rewarded. What about you, Leah? Like, we're just talking about balancing motherhood and all the craziness that goes on in SaaS on a daily basis and how you manage it.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm like balancing it, but I'm not gonna lie. I have like days that are very hard. I have that mom guilt of like, I'm very like work oriented person. Like, that's what I love to do. I really love what I'm doing. I get up like to work and everything. I also would love, like, my daughter is 6. I would love her to like reflect back and see like how much mommy did in like her career and didn't stop anything because I was born. And like props to all the women that decide to, like, everyone is like individual and does whatever like is good for her. But like I'm still like rocking and do the same things. But it's just like there's days that are hard, right? Because like let's say I need to travel and she has a recital or she has something from school and I'm like, dang, I should be there. I feel bad. But I try to manage it to make sure that I have as much time with her. Like, so like I schedule my travel on days that make sense. But yeah, it's not easy. It's not easy to be able to juggle it all. But I would say that all of this gives me like the capabilities to also do the same at work, kind of like to what Nikki said about like us being able to juggle a few things all at once. So like it also like helps me a lot as a leader, as a manager there as well.
Makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense. I love the comment about leaving a legacy, right? Like with this thing, like, despite the sort of challenges behind it, it's like the ability to like leave something behind you can be proud of. I'm really curious, thinking about like what we're all working on, right? Because we all are working on a lot of things. Um, Nikki, I'd love to kind of hear what are you working on these days? Like, walk us through what trends you're seeing, and what innovations you guys are finding at the Sticky team. I'm really curious about what you're seeing, like what are brands getting right and what are brands getting wrong in the space. Because I know you're talking to them every day.
Yeah, it's interesting because and we've seen this for a couple of years, like we've been seeing loyalty. Um, a lot of brands, I think years ago were like, oh, everybody's doing loyalty. I need to do loyalty. And so a whole bunch of people signed up for loyalty and didn't actually like math the loyalty and like didn't actually like run financials and like didn't actually like see how it impacted the business like in a positive or a negative way. So we're actually seeing a lot of brands trying to just like revamp their loyalty. So not get rid of it, but like actually be a little bit more methodical with the margins, which makes sense, right? Because of like the sort of like economic climate that we're in right now, like just trying to figure out, does this make sense for my business? So we're seeing a lot of brands like have that conversation around, did I set this up right? Am I giving too much away for free? Is this actually like something that is helping the business? So that's been really interesting. We do a lot of financial modeling for brands, and we've talked to a couple of our loyalty partners, and multiple of them have been like, "Oh, you guys are the only ones that I know that will do the financial modeling for them." Because a lot of times agencies will be like, "Yep, loyalty, set it up, points for dollar spent. That's basically it." But we can actually like look at what your margins are, make our discounts or products like better for the business, and set up an entire program for you based off of that. So that's one thing that we've been doing a lot of and seeing a lot more common theme of. And then internally at Sticky, like one of the things that we are leaning into really heavy is AI. There we don't want to be one of those agencies that's left behind. And it's interesting because I was at an advisory board meeting a couple of weeks ago for technology, and there was a whole bunch of agencies in the room. And of like the 20 agencies that were in the room, it was myself and like one other agency that was leaning into AI, and everybody else was like, I don't even know where to start. And I think that's really interesting because I am a very big advocate, and I don't think that AI is going to be taking my job anytime soon. But I do think that I'm going to be asked more of in my job. And so if I'm not leaning into AI, I'm not going to be able to do more at a rapid pace. And I think really like that is the shift is agencies, and I think technologies in general that are leaning into the AI to just become more efficient. Like you are going to be ones to win. And so Sticky, we definitely want to be at that forefront. So we've been doing a lot of AI structural work internally to make sure we can do that.
It's like output. It's like an increased output, right? Like that's
That's
the
exactly what it
expectation.
is. That's
I
exactly
would
what it is.
argue it's gonna be the same of anyone who's listening to this and watching this. It's gonna be the same for any employee of a SaaS company or any employee of a technology company is just gonna be asked more of with fewer. I mean, we're sort of seeing it in the space right now with announcements of headcount reductions and that sort of thing. And I think it's because the expectation is that people are more efficient and the output is more
Yep.
efficient.
That's exactly. I couldn't agree with you more.
Casey, what are you seeing on the agency side? I mean, you kind of have that sort of broad viewpoint in terms of like the different agencies you talk with. Does anything Nikki's saying resonate with you?
Yeah, I think I haven't heard like anyone who sounds fearful of AI, which I think is good. I think like it's just the unknown almost. So everyone's like, what is this? Is AI going to take my job? And, you have like the jokes like, can AI eat like 20 donuts? Like all those like funny things that I get to laugh at. But, yeah, no, I think people are leaning in. And I think what you're going to see too is that maybe people at the beginning are like, "Oh, AI can do all of this, like, we're fine." And then when you actually, like, check I'm not gonna lie, I've hit send on a couple AI emails and then been like, "Wow, that email, I probably should have checked it actually, like, this is not what I'm trying to say." Unsend, delete the Slack, because you do have to double check it. It's not something that's just like, type in boop de boop and now you have a new website, your marketing emails are flawless. Like AI needs human like checking and supervision almost. So I think it's going to help the agencies like who are so strapped for time, and everyone I worked at an agency for a while. Everyone's wearing multiple hats. Everyone's kind of doing everything. Shout out to Rich from Blue Switch. He used to always say that he was the janitor. Like when people would say like, what's your job? He's the CEO. And really, like we just all did you do everything to get stuff done for your clients, because usually it's a smaller team. And I think it's just going to help people get more done, and probably like the actual normal 9 to 5, 10 to 6, instead of like staying up all night doing these things. So I think it's great.
It is fascinating to see, and you're totally right. I have to check AI all the time. Like it's like more of a tool. I mean, it's like in the hands of the right person with good QA, it can be pretty powerful. But Leah, I'm curious, where are you seeing it show up in your conversations with tech partners? I mean, besides it being probably the forefront of every discussion.
Yeah, I mean, it's so trendy, and like every company is trying to be an AI company right now. So like, can we focus on like what's the AI feature? Is it really like, is there a benefit for the brand? Is there a benefit for the agency to use it? Or is it just like because it's like trendy out there? Um, I don't think AI will replace us, but it will probably make us more efficient. There's like tasks that are for sure like repeatable, or like I can ask the AI like now one question, it will loop in a few different like platforms that I'm using and will give me like an output. So that's how I see AI. How will it make me more efficient? How will it make our brands more efficient? But yeah, it's not like 100% solution to everything. And I think that just in general in the space, AI is being used a lot, but not necessarily like as it should. It feels like it's like a lot of like a trend that a lot of like people are like hopping on. So it's like, how do we really utilize it, and what's the benefit of it?
100% agree. It's like doing it for a headline, right? I think I also saw, I mean, a case in point where like Allbirds decided to become an AI company overnight. Like that's the one I joke about where I'm like, okay. And I mean, people were legitimately saying like, is this just for like a stock bump, or is this for something? And by the way, this is only an opinion. Please don't send me a cease and desist, Allbirds. But like the idea here is like, is it just like something that gets the market excited, or is it like actually a tool that moves the needle for brands or um, I only have one more question for you all, and then I'll leave it for like your closing statements. But what is the biggest opportunity in e-commerce right now? Is it partnerships? Is it AI? Where should people be focused? Nikki, I'm really curious because you talk to brands all day. Like, where do you see something that brands should really be focusing on?
Working with Sticky Digital. They should be focused on
Besides
that.
that, yes, of course. Email. We'll put the email in the notes of the show so you can.
Yes. I really do feel like brands just need to focus on like efficiency themselves. I think, at least from my perspective, some brands that we have worked with in the past, like there's a lot of inefficiencies internally where like you have too many stakeholders, too many opinions, too many people that like need to sign on a dotted line before anything can get done. And it's like, is that actually the most efficient for your business? Like letting go of some of the Legos and just allowing for, I think, like one stakeholder internally. I think like when you get on some of these calls with brands and there's like 6, 7, 8 from brands, like what do you guys do? Like there should
Yeah.
only be one person that's communicating with us. Like this is crazy to me. And I feel like a lot of it is just like there's no trust factor. And so I think brands should really focus on just the efficiency and just hire somebody that you can trust to sort of like run regardless of what it is. If that's like a project manager that can run across multiple channels, or if you're hiring a retention person or whatever, but like hire one person and be a lot more efficient, because it's a lot more efficient as well for the partner work with when they're also not having to communicate with like 8 different people. You can just get a lot more.
Yeah, I've often heard, and maybe you can agree with this, but like having a point person to work with, like an agency, for example, is like the best thing you could ever do, instead of it being like, hey, agency, go just take my retention efforts. Like it's a collaboration, but like that needs to be like one person that owns it at a brand that really makes it successful.
Yeah, and our brands that have like one point person internally, and like they do all of like the back channel obviously internally with the brand, but like one person that like communicates with us, the amount that they're able to produce for those brands is incredible versus somebody that like has 6 different people that like, oh, this person's approved the Figma. Oh, but wait, now it has to go to this person. Oh, wait. And then now this person don't see eye to eye. And it's like, you guys are wasting so much time. So find one person and just like operate. It's better for everybody.
100%. Leah, Casey, what do you think? What's the opportunity we're all missing? You see a lot.
Coming from like the SMS field, I would say just in general for a brand, be your own customer as well. Experience the customer experience from the beginning till the end. Subscribe to your email, subscribe to your SMS, do that testing, make an order, see how the shipment is coming, how's the unboxing experience is coming. I think a lot of like brands don't do that. And I think this experience will give them a different view and a different approach to what they actually put out there. So that would be like my 2 cents.
Nice. What about you, Casey?
I love
What are you
that.
saying?
Yeah, maybe thinking more from like the partnership perspective is like, I think, doubling down on what I said before, like be yourself. All of these agencies that we're working with are getting tons of asks. And I think I think of like people in the space, there's so many women and men. I will say there's some really great men too. Shout out to like Wyatt, who are just themselves. And I think like that really like be yourself, be fun. We're not saving lives here, even though this is, like I said, it's very serious. I know Mike's gonna listen to this. This is a very serious job. But yeah, bring that human element while we're all in this AI space. Like be the human part of people's day where you're, you know, interacting with them not as AI, not as something on Slack or a keyboard. So,
Casey, for our audience, who is Wyatt? I know we all know who that is, but I'm sure people are going to be like, "Who
uh,
is Wyatt?"
Wyatt Chain from Recharge. So um,
Nice,
my
nice.
old,
Shout out.
yeah, the one good man in partnerships. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, okay. Well, thank you all. I'm going to leave it. If you had one thing to leave one insight to leave our audience and our customers who are watching this, by the way, thank you all. If you're watching and you got to the end, you get the best part where you get to hear like one key insight. Casey, you're already talking. You're in my screen. Go ahead. What's the one insight
I thought
that
that
you
was
would
my
be
one
interested?
insight.
That's great. Yeah. Well, I'll
How'd you
bounce it
get
off.
two?
You have to get two. Yeah. No, that's a good one. What about you, Leah? No, we can jump to Leah.
I'd say like we started to talk about like women in the space and like not being like representative enough and everything. I would say like especially as like other like males or something, like just be an ally. Ask the questions. Like make sure that you're aware of like the different things that we're going through. uh Make sure that we're like comfortable enough. Maybe it's like even going like offsites, right? Like offsites get like longer hours. We go back to the like, I don't know, there's a lot of things. Just like be a good ally, have that conversation, see if people are struggling, and how we can do to even make it better from what we had like 5 years, but 5 years from now, how we can make this entire industry a bit more better and more diverse.
Love it.
I was kind of going to
Nikki?
say the same. Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I think like just one insight is it's like if you're not a female in the space, and I guess I will say there are even females in the space that aren't as supportive of females. I think like it doesn't matter if you're like man or woman or what you believe in, but I think like leaving space for those around you, because I think like it doesn't always need to be competitive and it doesn't always need to be um, where we're not supporting each other. There's room for everybody. And so I think like that is sort of my opinion is it's just like support those around you and be an ally to whoever that is, whether it's a male or a woman, like there's space for all of us. And I don't think that it needs to get nasty to any degree or competitive. But that's like my biggest takeaway, I think.
I love that. I can add something.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I thought we were doing our tips, so but yeah, I mean, I think exactly what Leah and Nikki were saying. You know, as I get older, even though I'm I look so young.
You're so young looking. You're so young looking.
Routine.
Lift up women around you. Like, I think that's like such a special part to me, to like work with younger women and be that like earpiece for them, like let them vent to me, hear them out, like support them, check in on them. um there's so many women in this space who have like helped carry me along, so I think like giving that back to people who are like newer in their careers, like it's always really great to have someone to reach out to you, and that you don't have to go and say, hey, can you like help me with this? Like, be a little proactive about reaching out to women that you work with that are maybe you know newer in their careers. So
Incredible. I can't thank you all enough for joining this conversation. The opportunity to be on a call with three badass women. Like I said at the top of the call, like I've been shaped my entire career by women, and the three people on this call are no exception. So I want to thank you all. Nikki, since you're on and you're going to be in front of our customers, how can they find you? How can customers find you if they want to get in touch with you?
stickydigital.io. LinkedIn, Nikki Tooman. There's not many Toomans on LinkedIn, so you'll be able to find me very quickly. Or Nikki at stickydigital.io. Like Casey was saying, we do free audits for anybody that comes in. Our audits, I think, are meaningful. They take us a long time to do. They take us quite a few hours. So if there's anything that we can do, we even like to just like help consult and just help you, the brand, figure out where your leaky buckets are. Like, we do that and just pass an audit off to you that you can sort of like run on your own.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, thank you all. And to everyone who watched, thank you. And thanks for joining us for the first one. If you're interested in being part of this, please contact me. Want to lean into the community a little bit, want to build things. We're going to talk about e-commerce. We're going to talk about the news of the day. We're going to talk about this. We're going to do this a couple times a month. So please reach out to me. Please reach out to Casey if you'd like to join, or Leah if you'd like to join. Nikki, we'd hope to have you back in a couple weeks.
Awesome. Would love to. Thank you, God.
Thank
You all. Bye.
Bye.